Hi guys, I want to show you a ketogenic diet pancake recipe, also the Banting diet in South Africa, and I make pancakes very often and I never make pancakes the same way twice, but I'm going to give you a basic sense of the gist of the way I make pancakes. Okay, so first there's pretty much always 3 eggs. I'm going to make a bit more this time, so I'm putting 4 eggs in. Usually I use 3 eggs. So step 1. 3 eggs into a mixing bowl and whisk them up. Whisk, 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 whisk. Okay, so now the next thing I use is coconut flour. And I usually just throw the coconut flour in and do it by eye. But I'm going to measure it out this time. So I put about, let's see, 1, 2, 3. I put about 3 tablespoons, 3 heaped tablespoons of coconut flour. Okay, and I put about the same amount of psyllium husk. So 1 heaped, 2 heaped, 3 and a half heaped teaspoons. I normally, as I said, don't measure it, but it's about that much. Okay, then next ingredient is some mascarpone cheese, and I put about 100 grams of mascarpone cheese. So in that goes about 100 grams of mascarpone cheese. All right, I've got some leftover yogurt. I like to use yogurt, so I've got, I got this much yogurt. That's what I have left over. If you don't have yogurt, you can just use milk. You can just use coconut milk. It really doesn't matter. And it's kind of cool to make it different each time. You can find your favorite recipes and you can make the pancake your own. You can like personalize it and make it your own thing. Okay, the next thing I like to put in is cream. I got some whipping cream over here. I'm going to put about 1/3 of a cup of whipping cream. Okay, and then I'm going to put in some milk, about 1/2 cup of milk. And I got some leftover coconut. I got some leftover coconut cream. Now, you could just use a full cup of milk, or you could just use coconut cream. Like I said, you can vary the recipe to match what you've got. So in this goes. This is from the fridge, so it's kind of nice and creamy and hard. Okay, and that goes. Give that a stir. Okay, so I'm going to give this a little bit of a whisking. So you can see the texture. The psyllium husk and the coconut flour are full of fiber and they like to suck in all the liquids. Alright, so to keep it nice and moist, I'm going to add some avocado oil. You could add coconut oil if you want to as well. You can melt down some coconut oil or melt some butter. But I'm going to put some avo oil in just to keep it nice and moist. So you can see roughly how much I put. I put, a good amount, maybe 3 tablespoons of oil. Okay, and then some vanilla essence. Vanilla essence goes in. All right. And give that a bit of a whisking. So normally a pancake batter will be very watery, but because of the psyllium husk in here, it's quite a stiff, quite a hard pancake batter, which is cool. Kind of works. All right, now I want to sweeten it, and I'm going to sweeten it with some xylitol. Xylitol has a very nice sweet flavor. I like to use stevia, but stevia has that bitter aftertaste. Xylitol doesn't have the bitter aftertaste. But xylitol, if taken too much, does affect your blood sugar, so you've got to be careful with it. I'm going to put 2 teaspoons of xylitol, 2 heaped teaspoons of xylitol. And I'm going to put, and be careful by the way, when you use xylitol, be very, very careful with dogs. Xylitol is very toxic, very, very toxic to your dogs, so make sure you use it away from your animals. I'm also going to put a bit of stevia. You can leave out the stevia if you don't like stevia's bitter taste, but I'm just putting a little bit in there. A little goes a long way with stevia. All right, now, as you can see, it's super, super stiff and hard, which is very weird. It's more like a dough. It's not at all like a pancake batter. You wouldn't expect a pancake batter to be this stiff. Okay, and if you let the dough sit for about 10 minutes, the psyllium husk will soak up all the moisture and it'll become even more doughy, which will make it easier to work with in terms of shaping it, and it still cooks great. Don't be scared by the doughy texture of it. That's just the psyllium husk. Okay, so I'm going to put a bit more milk in just to moisten up the batter a bit. You don't need to expect the batter to be watery, as I said. It's still going to be a very stiff, very doughy kind of batter, and that's normal. Okay, I want to add one final secret ingredient, and that's macadamia nuts. Now, the last time I made the pancake, I put the macadamia nuts into a coffee grinder, and I grinded them up into like a butter-like consistency. But my coffee grinder was not compliant today, so I just used a knife to chop them up. It adds a lovely texture and flavor to the dish. So here is finely chopped macadamia nuts. That's the last thing I put in. I'm going to give this a final stir. And as you can see, it's still very, very dough-like, which is exactly what you expect. All right. Now we are ready to fry. Okay, oh, by the way, I put about half a cup of finely chopped macadamia nuts. Okay, cool. Now, put on the pan. There's a bit of butter in the pan from before. That's fine. Okay, so now we put in some coconut oil. Putting in about a teaspoon of coconut oil. All right, now because this pancake dough is very dry and doughy, it's not a regular watery pancake batter. We just put little small pancakes, mini pancakes, so they're easier to manage. And you just make several smaller pancakes. So just like this size, use my finger, excuse me. And we just make mini pancakes. You just pat them flat with the spatula. Should put a few in first, then I can pat them all. 1, 2, 3. You can make bigger ones as well if you're feeling brave. They're just more difficult to flip and they're more difficult to manage, especially considering the size. Especially considering the doughy texture of these pancakes. So you can pat them into any shape you want to. I kind of like it rustic, but I don't really care too much about the shape. This one's kind of like a star. It's kind of like clouds. You can kind of like look at the shape that you see in the pancake, just like you're looking at clouds and looking for the shapes in the clouds. This one kind of looks like a retarded fish. And this one, you tell me what this one looks like. Alright, so they cook pretty quick. Normally with pancakes, you'll wait until you see bubbles popping on the other side. These kind of cook pretty quick, so you don't have to wait that long before flipping them. A little bit longer, not quite there yet. Let's just give it a minute. Yeah, let's flip. Okay, so these pancakes are really light and fluffy and tasty and creamy. You can make a bigger one if you want to. They're just more difficult to flip. And you don't have to follow my recipe exactly. You know, I honestly, when I make these pancakes, I don't measure things out. I just do it by eye. One time I made a batter with more psyllium husk, and it was so dry and so doughy. Still oily because I know because of the psyllium husk and the coconut flour, you do need to add a bit more oil. But it was so easy to manage that I could literally use my hands and pat the dough into shape. And it came out great. So what's interesting about these particular pancakes / crumpets is that they do not have that watery texture, but they're still very light and creamy and delicious. So without further ado, let's eat some pancakes. Okay, so you can serve them with butter or coconut butter or cream or sweetened, stevia sweetened / xylitol sweetened mascarpone cheese. It's up to you. In this case, I'm going to put a little dusting of xylitol. Just a very little dusting like this of xylitol right on top. And also a little bit of cinnamon. If you want to be all fancy, you can put it through a sieve. But I'm just doing it rustic. So moments of truth. Very, very tasty. So you can see they're not the most beautiful pancakes. It's a bigger one, smaller one. Bigger ones are harder to manage. They cook pretty quickly. They're very, very tasty. Experiment, have fun, play around, make your own creative pancakes. The point of the video is not as much about giving you a recipe as it is to show you that you can play around with coconut flour, with almond flour, with different cream cheeses, with coconut milk, with whatever's in your kitchen to make lovely ketogenic pancakes. Not the kind of thing you can eat too much. Be careful with the xylitol, you can't overuse the xylitol, but I love pancakes. They're so delicious. And there's no reason not to eat them on a ketogenic diet. Here's a couple of pancakes that I made later on. And what's great about these pancakes is how thick they are. They're so fluffy and soft, and they really rise up. And just that lovely fluffiness, that lightness. And also it's cool because they're so doughy, you can use your hands and pack them into whatever shape you want. I didn't do that in this case. As you can see, it's random. I don't really mind about that. But you easily could make them heart-shaped or diamond-shaped or whatever tickles your fancy. Lots of fun and delicious pancakes. Yes! Hope this was somewhat useful. And yeah, see you again. Thanks for watching. Bye. Okay, so this is another batch I made a day later. And in this case, I did not add any milk or coconut milk, nor did I add any mascarpone cheese. I added less psyllium husk and coconut flour because I have less of the wet ingredients, just to show you how you can vary the ingredients and get a great result. Once again, notice how doughy and how dry this is, not watery at all. And this is really great for shaping the dough, and you'll be amazed at how well this cooks. It cooks great. Look at this. It's a nice, non-sticky dough, so it's easy to shape. And it's great. It gives you a very light, fluffy, thick, delicious pancake.